Tanse, I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. The government of Manitoba will begin searching the Prairie Green Landfill in a few miles north of Winnipeg, where it's believed the remains of at least 2 Indigenous women are buried. Premier Wab Kinew made the announcement yesterday after meeting with family members. This follows on the heels of the trial of the Jeremy Skibitsky trial, who admitted to killing the women. Sav Jonza has more on the announcement.
Plans to search the Prairie Green Landfill began several months ago, says Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew. Yesterday, his government approved a special environmental license to get things going. Kinew says the search will be conducted in a different way than what was proposed in previously released feasibility studies.
We're doing so for 2 specific reasons. One is that we've made a significant advancement in terms of identifying where we believe the remains are within the site. And the second is that we have found what we believe to be a better approach to searching the landfill material.
Kinew says the trial of Jeremy Skibitsky provided a clearer picture of where the remains are likely to be.
And they are actually closer to the middle of these cells rather than closer to the surface.
Kinew says they will need to excavate the top layers to get to material dumped on May 16th, 2022, when they believe the remains were deposited. This will now be done manually rather than through a conveyor belt system as originally proposed.
The reasons why we're proceeding with this manual search is that after having our team and our experts look into this, we've concluded that this is going to allow us to move forward in a much more robust fashion with a more thorough search with less downtime. If we use a conveyor belt system, if the belt breaks, the whole search comes to a stop. And we're trying to avoid that. The families have been forced to wait long enough.
Landfill searchers will be hired throughout the summer and receive extensive training. He says no new funding will be provided on top of the combined $40 million the provincial and federal governments has promised, but he says it will be enough. He says the search could realistically continue into 2026. Kinew wouldn't provide comment on if the Brady Road landfill will also be searched. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
2 shelters in Montreal held a memorial to mourn the loss of over 30 lives, half of whom were unhoused Indigenous people. APTN's Maricela Amador spoke with organizers who said multiple factors have contributed to this tragedy.
Jesse Blacksmith, April Blue Boy.
33 deaths over the last 3 years, many of them unhoused Indigenous women.
Monica Poasi.
In downtown Montreal's Cabot Square, it's an emotional scene as community members gathered to mourn lost friends and loved ones.
Today is about honoring them, having people share, having an opportunity for staff to come and work with the people who are grieving and help them to move forward so that they don't end up this way.
Nakuset heads the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal.
And we really need more services because this cannot continue.
She says the number of deaths around the Cabot Square community is alarming and criticizes inaction from all levels of government in addressing Montreal's homelessness situation.
Will there be an inquest into all these 33 lives, right? Like, can we do more of that to find out what the root causes is, as opposed to just counting them when they're alive and really not doing very much about it?
Tapia Apak from Igloolik, Nunavut, has experienced homelessness. She's grateful for the opportunity to grieve.
It's been hard for me to think about him.
She says she came to pay her respects to people she knew and loved.
At first I didn't want to come here because I knew it was going to be hard for me to be here. But it's also very important because you get to feel the feelings of others.
Jeremiah Connors fell and hit his head. He never came out of the coma.
Attendees, who are part of the Cabot Square community, share memories of those they've lost.
April Blue Boy finally went home to her home community, but it didn't work out, so she came down here and died of an overdose.
David Chapman, the executive director of Resilience Montreal, says the housing crisis has made the situation worse.
Another factor is the increase in more dangerous drugs such as fentanyl. A third factor is The city of Montreal's approach and the approach more broadly in Quebec of clearing encampments.
Chapman explains people with no place to go are most likely to end up in dangerous circumstances.
It's both sad and extremely frustrating, because a significant number of the deaths on the board are unnecessary. One of the really common themes that I see is young Indigenous women who are afraid to go to the hospital.
He adds that every neighborhood in Montreal should have easily accessible resources for homelessness.
You see, there's a lot of young Inuit women, and these are the girls that usually just come out of youth protection. They're out of the system, they have nowhere to go. This park, has a lot of perpetrators that come to the park, and they're very vulnerable.
Nakuset hopes the government is watching, but she says she remains skeptical. Maricela Amador, APTN National News, Montreal.
After months of failed negotiations that resulted in a blockade on an oil lease road and a court injunction, the Woodland Cree First Nation and the Calgary-based company Obsidian Energy have come to an agreement. In a statement from Chief Isaac Labucon Avram, he says, quote, "After mediated negotiations, we have come to terms on an agreement in principle that balances the rights and interests of the nation and Obsidian Energy. We would like to thank the thousands of Canadians who supported us. Reconciliation is impossible without solidarity." End quote. The First Nation blocked a road leading to a drilling site in February after concerns that the company wasn't telling them about their plans to expand into their traditional territory. Obsidian was also linked to concerns about earthquakes in Alberta. A court injunction to remove the blockade was granted, but the RCMP did not enforce it. The midwifery community in the Northwest Territories is facing a big challenge, but they are fighting back, highlighting their contributions to families, the healthcare system, and the North in general. Our reporter Charlotte Moore-Jacobs has that story.
With 3 decades of practice under her belt, Indigenous midwife Leslie Paulette is working tirelessly, advocating amidst a proposed budget cut of nearly $1 million that would fund nearly half of all midwifery positions in the Northwest Territories.
And it's not for lack of interest. People do want midwifery services. It's not for lack of interest from midwives. Midwives do want to come and work here to help build this program. But there have been systemic barriers that have resulted in midwives really feeling not supported to implement the program the way, in many cases, they know how to do because they've done it before.
The proposed cuts affect 4 practitioner positions serving Yellowknife, Beshko, Dilo, and Beta, a territorial manager position, and a senior midwifery consultant within the Department of Health and Social Services. APTN requested an interview with the department. Instead, we received this statement over email. It cites challenges with recruitment and retention of staff and says existing midwifery services in Fort Smith and Hay River will not be affected. The NWT Association of Midwifery have been meeting territorial politicians to explain why the program has had its setbacks.
And we've had 6 midwives in positions in Yellowknife over the past several years. They were enthusiastic and optimistic about coming to work in the North. They understood the importance of increasing access for people in Yellowknife and in the small communities to get midwifery care. It can make a real difference in terms of improving outcomes and providing culturally safe care. So we had midwives who were really interested in coming. Unfortunately, we have lost all but one of those midwives. The others left because they were disappointed and frustrated that they were not really supported.
Some Yellowknife MLAs have spoken up, asking the health minister to reconsider.
Midwifery services in Yellowknife are planned out for the next 3 years to provide outreach to us.
There's also been support from the public. On May 31st, a rally was held in Fort Smith and Yellowknife, and public testimonials have been circulating online, especially around the impact birth workers have on continuity of care and how Indigenous midwives can help reclaim traditional practices around birth. For Paulette, she says eliminating jobs will only deter Northerners from coming home to train when the midwifery community shrinks.
The focus is not on just serving Yellowknife, it's on creating a strong core and a presence of midwifery in the Territorial Referral Centre, but being able to reach out to communities and regions, and being able to welcome clients from those smaller communities when they come to Yellowknife, to give them that option. Would you like to try midwifery care when you're here? You know, what can we do to support you?
The territorial government will vote on the matter this week. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
A 3-minute break now, but when we return, we'll tell you all about a new initiative to keep the Michif language going for the next generation. We'll be right back. Welcome back. A new web series to help promote the Michif language to young children is launching soon. APTN's Chris Stewart spoke with the creator and the co-star of the show.
Oh, Tache Henry. Angelique, Monami Henry Awa. This is my friend, Henry.
Christopher White and his team are excited about the upcoming web launch of his series, Michif Makers. In it, puppet cousins William and Angelique learn about Métis history and about the Michif language with the help of their animal friends.
Each episode kind of has a problem or a challenge that children need to overcome. They usually try, they fail, as most children tend to do with things, but it's through the learning of a particular keyword or phrase that ties into an aspect of Métis culture or history that they're able to kind of self-actualize and resolve their problems and kind of grow as human beings, or puppets as it were.
White says it is targeted towards children 4 to 7 and combines entertainment with learning.
It's funny, it's engaging, we've got lots of music, a lot of slapstick, some good dialogue jokes there for the parents as well. So really it's about kind of pulling them in, making characters in a world that is relatable, that is fun, and finding ways to kind of sprinkle in the language.
Found you, mon frere.
You found me.
Now where could Angelique be?
I don't know.
APTN couldn't turn down an opportunity to interview William, one of the co-stars.
I do the show with my best cousin, Angelique. She's funny and she's a lot of fun. And sometimes we have our weasel friends, Ermin and Bella. They're really funny too. And you know what? We also learn a lot too, which is a lot of fun. We have fun, but there's also a lot of learning we get to do. So people like Madame Bufflou and Lou the Wolf, they help teach us a lot and help us grow and learn a little bit more about our language.
The first 2 episodes debut this Saturday at michifmakers.ca, with new episodes weekly, 5 episodes in total.
Well, I hope all of you young people watching out there really like our show. We put a lot of time into it, and I hope you have a lot of fun, just like we did. It's a chance to learn about the language, and whether you're Métis or not, you can learn a lot about the history of our people and how we see things and how we came to be.
The Stanley A. Milner Library in downtown Edmonton has a free screening on Saturday at 1 p.m. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Thank you, Chris. This month marks Pride Month, and many communities across Canada are celebrating LGBTQ2S+ people and their many contributions. As Sarah Connors tells us, a small northern community in the Yukon recently joined the celebrations for the first time ever. Here's that story.
It's your typical Pride Parade, one that wouldn't be complete without rainbows, floats, and of course, costumes. But in this small community, population 200, this event means so much more.
And here we are making history by having Mayo's first ever Pride Parade.
Beloved Mayo resident Natasha Young, a Notchonayakdun citizen and proud member of the LGBTQ2S+ community, passed away last year. Young always dreamed of having a Pride event in her home community.
She had a partner who unfortunately passed away a few years before her, and I think them being here in our community really raised a lot of awareness about the Two-Spirit community and being out, and really about what love can be.
Wow, look at all the support for my sister. She'd be really honored.
With the help from Young's niece Ava, the community rallied together to make Young's wish come true at the J.V. Clark School in Mayo.
We are creating a space of acceptance and appreciation, and not perpetuating the hate and violence that has plagued these communities for too many years. We are caring for all our people.
Young's friend Joella Hogan says it can be hard to be openly queer in rural northern communities, but events like these show there is community support.
To us, that shows the commitment to community, to openness, to equality, and to really making this inclusive community.
Finley Parks, who identifies as trans, says visibility of LGBTQ2S+ people is important.
I think events like this, especially when it's like, a smaller community, a lot more intermingled, like it just shows younger generations and all generations of people really that there's love and support there and they can be who they are.
How we get by is by supporting each other and lifting each other up. And so, yeah, it really warms my heart to see everyone out here today doing what we do best in small towns, which is supporting each other.
Community members hope this year's event will be the first of many Pride parades. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Mayo.
Thank you, Sarah. We can't stop talking about the now award-winning 60 Scoop series Little Bird. Our next guest will tell us what it was like to win one of the 13 Canadian Screen Awards for the show. We'll be right back. Over on the East Coast, St. John's 21, Charlottetown 21. Nuujawak 15, La Grande River 18. Val d'Or 19, Saguenay 20. Sarnia 24, Ottawa 17. Sioux Lookout 17, Timmins 24. Churchill 2, Thompson 13. Winnipeg 16, Barons River 13. Swift Current 14, Saskatoon 17. Buffalo Narrows 13, Meadow Lake 12 and rainy there. Showers in 11 in Grand Prairie, Fort McMurray 14. Lethbridge 25, rain there, Calgary 11 with sun. Tofino 10, Kamloops 11. Dees Lake 9, Smithers 10. Beaver Creek 16, Watson Lake 9. Fort Simpson 13, Wati 11. Inuvik 3, Colville Lake 9. Baker Lake 5, Chesterfield 3. Iqaluit 3, Igloolik 1. The cast and crew of Little Bird, the Crave and APTN original series on the 60 Scoop, is still celebrating after winning a total of 13 Canadian Screen Awards. Some of those awards include Best Drama Series and Best Lead Drama Performer, but it is the award for Best Achievement in Makeup that is being celebrated in Saskatchewan for an award-winning makeup artist, Nina MacArthur from Pheasant from Nakota Nation. MacArthur previously worked in LA and Paris and has also done makeup for such films as The Ice Roads with Liam Neeson and Just Friends with Ryan Reynolds. She spoke with me earlier about winning the award from Regina. Nina, thank you for chatting with us today. First off, congratulations for winning a Canadian Screen Award for Best Achievement in Makeup. When did you find out, and what was that like winning and receiving this award?
Well, I knew I was nominated. There was 3 levels of the nomination that happened. So back in October, I was told I was nominated. I had to keep it a secret until they announced the actual nominations, and I think they did it in February this year. And then, so I went out to Toronto for the show, and I didn't know if I was going to win or not until they actually opened the envelope.
And what was that like when they called out your name?
It was surreal. I'm like, okay, like I was expecting to like wake up from a dream or fall off the bed or something when I was walking up the stairs, and I was like, oh God, this is actually real. I'm like, wow. Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable.
That's so great. Congratulations. We're so happy for you. What was it like working on the set of Little Bird?
It was really good. There was a lot for me and for myself, and being Indigenous and growing up in Saskatchewan and going to residential school, there was definitely, and being a part of the foster system, there was a lot of triggering factors for me personally. So when I had first read it, I'm like, oh my God, I have to be a part of this. I'm like, this is an important story that needs to be told. And then, yeah, and like doing the show, there was a lot of, so there was so much planning that went into it as the head of the department that I had to do. So there was just like all of it. It was amazing to be a part of, and it was definitely, there were scenes that were really hard to be on set, but it was so important to me that this story was told.
It felt like you were meant to be there. Yes,
for sure, it really did.
Yeah.
Even chatting with my mom, she was just like, it was so hard to watch. She's like, but I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, no, that's great. And as I mentioned earlier, this is of course not your first big gig. You've had many in the past. Did you ever think your career would get to this point?
No, after Little Bird, it was like, for me, I had been working already for years. I've worked on over 70 film and TV projects, and doing it like over 25 years now. But just, I was already getting to, I'm like, okay, I need to take some time off. And I was expecting to take some time off, but I was still taking a time off. For me is like working on a Hallmark. So I definitely love doing what I do. So it was, yeah.
Right on. And tell us about what project you're working in Regina right now.
I'm currently working on, it's called Hostile Takeover. It's the first, and I feel so horrible, I should know, but it's a gigantic screen, and everything is, so it's all in one location, and the screen is huge. So it's the first time it's being done here in Saskatchewan in the soundstage. As we all know that we lost the film tax credit years ago, so it's really nice to be able to work in Regina again with the people that I started out my career with. So yeah, with getting this award and everything, it really felt like it was becoming full circle.
Yep, right on. And for any young and aspiring Indigenous makeup artists out there who want to one day get where you are, what words of wisdom do you have for them, or advice?
My words of wisdom, I think, would always keep at it. There's no matter what, we always, as Indigenous, we always have our hurdles, and things are always just kind of just a little bit harder somehow. But I think where we come from and what we do, we can still, we're still here. We can still persevere, and that just goes with, as soon as you set a goal, then just keep at it, no matter what. You're going to hear 100 no's, but just one yes is good enough.
Halfway. Yeah. Well, thank you, Nina, for talking to us today. We wish you all the best in your future.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's our show for this Wednesday, June 12th. We'll be back again this afternoon with more stories from everyone here in Winnipeg at our HQ. Hi, miigwech, masicho. Thank you for watching.